Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to Toe Tags and Metal Reviews, and today we're giving you guys our first impressions of the new releases from Cannibal Corpse, Stained and Thy Art is Murder. So, I guess two of the three albums of today were supposed to be for last week, but they got pushed to this week, which in the long run kind of helped us out, because last week had so many albums, and I guess this week otherwise would have just had the one album, so... Yeah. We got these three, and I opened up my day with Chaos Horrific by Cannibal Corpse. I'm a fan of the Eric Roten, era of this band, from Red Before Black onwards. I liked what they've been doing and the direction that they've been going. I thought Violence Unimagined was great. Chaos Horrific, I overall enjoyed. It's cool, the moment you press play, you get something cool and interesting. The first track opens with this bass riff,
juicy bass.
And it's the kind of thing that you would normally hear partway through a song, maybe a few songs in, and say it's cool, but to have your album instantly open with that is awesome. I thought that was a great decision. I thought, wow, it really gets you already wanting to write notes about it the instant you hit play.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. And now this album does a thing mainly with the drums, and I think we even mentioned it when we checked out one of the music videos, but I first noted it here during Frenzied Feeding. The stuff kind of goes out of time, where they're playing a riff and the drummer just with on the ride or something, maybe just playing some kind of triplet figure that doesn't really match anything else that's going on.
I think I pointed that out in one of our reactions.
Well, yeah, that's why I mentioned. I'm pretty sure we talked about this a little bit, but
yeah.
I noticed that it does happen on multiple songs on this record, and normally I feel like it's the kind of thing that just that just doesn't sound right, it sounds weird. But I find that it happens in a lot of situations where it's everything's kind of going crazy already, and it kind of adds to that frenzy of stuff happening with the music, and it's the exact kind of thing you would really want to hear in a mosh pit, just everything just going absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Just all over the place, just nuts.
Is it is it a polyrhythmic thing, or is there?
It's like he's playing triplets that are faster, that really don't fit. It's not it's he's just randomly hitting it. It's okay.
No, I know that, but even in comparison to what the rest of the band's playing, I think the drums might be polyrhythm just compared to the rest of the band, not just on the drums alone.
Yeah, there's times where it's you got the guitars doing something and then the drums are doing some D beat, and it's they don't perfectly line up with each other.
Yeah.
But it's for those sections, it works. And it's really honestly impressive that it does. To be able to do that and have it consistently work, it's surprising. Summoned for Sacrifice is the second song that we reacted to. The riff after the intro was really cool on that song. I enjoyed that. But now, I don't know if you thought this, but the third riff, low-key, reminded me of Bring Back the Bomb by Guar. I could sing that on top of it, and I'm yeah, this is cool.
I'd have to listen to it again, but the first riff you talked about, so near the intro, that reminded me of Dead Skin Mask by Slayer. So, interesting song. If you're going to go from Slayer vibes to Guar vibes on a Cannibal Corpse song, that's quite the concoction there, so... Interesting stuff.
It is, but I do like how it's pretty straight. This album is straightforward with what it is. It's another Cannibal Corpse album, but it's good. And like I said, I like the direction the band has been going. Overall, it's a good album. It's nothing mind blowing or anything.
Yeah.
But I just enjoyed it from front to back, and I had fun with it. It's a good album.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's not groundbreaking in any way. I do think on my first impression, I liked it, but I think I enjoyed Violence Unimagined a little bit more, and even Right Before Black even more. But there's some stuff here that I was okay, this is pretty cool. You already mentioned a couple things, the bass line, Summoned for Sacrifice is a great song. Vengeful Invasion is probably one of the highlight tracks. It's track number 5, right in the middle of the album. Starts off with this really cool, frenzied kind of riff, just kind of chaotic sounding. Has a lot of really cool changes. Just a really cool song, but again, nothing really groundbreaking. Then you got Pestilence Rictus near the end, track number 9. This one's a little bit more thrashy. It's got the thrash beat on there for at least the first half of the song, or first bit anyway. It doesn't last long. It's just more Cannibal Corpse, right? It's enjoyable no matter what. You can headbang to it, you can put it on, enjoy it, thrash to it, mosh to it. whatever you want. It's doing what it needs to do. Do I wish there was something more? Do I wish there was something a little bit more innovative there? Yes, and maybe there is, but again, listen to it once or twice today. Hard to pick out everything, on the first day. So overall, though, I did enjoy it. Good stuff from Cannibal Corpse today.
All right, well, moving forward, Confessions of the Fallen by Stained. This is a band that, it's another early 2000s like new metal band coming out with something this year. There's been plenty by now, and this one is probably one of the better ones, I would say. Now, this album didn't really blow my mind or anything, but I like the first song, like the way that this album started. I'm like, okay, this is a cool groove. The breakdown is nice. The harshes kind of sound like Waylon Revis. I don't know if you thought that way, but it reminded me of Waylon's harshes a little bit. But I kind of felt like there was a little bit of a hard kind of like come down around track 4. It kind of felt like the energy was brought down a little bit too much with that song. And I'm like, okay, this is the song I would have as the ballad near the end of the album. Now, there is a ballad near the end of the album, and I'm like, it's got the same kind of energy as track 4, so I feel like they kind of went down a little bit too hard that early in the album. However, the last track, Confessions of the title track, reminded me of the first track, and I liked it as well. But overall, it was fine. Like, it didn't feel like anything offensive, anything like that bugged me or really pissed me off, other than that, one little bit about track 4 that kind of bothered me a bit. Other than that, it's fine, yeah, not bad.
So I haven't listened to Stained in a long time.
Perhaps you could say it's been a
while. You stole my joke right from out of my face. But anyways, I thought this album was pretty good, actually. I did enjoy it more than I thought I would. The point TV Fish made about the tracks kind of getting a little bit soft and kind of falling off around track 4, it does do that, but it does pick back up again. So track number 4 is a slower song, but it's actually not bad. It had a really catchy hook, and I found myself actually enjoying it, which is unusual for me to like slower tracks like that, but it's not completely uncommon. So I thought for a slower track, it actually did a really good job. There was a couple songs that I felt like this just sounds like sad Nickelback. Like, essentially this band just sounds like sad Nickelback. I'm not a Nickelback fan, but I guess maybe adding the mopiness gives it some edge, it gives it some appeal to me, I guess.
From Nickelback to Nickel Spent.
A couple songs that I did like. So track number 6, Cycle of Hurting, I thought this was really cool. So during the bridge, there's this cool vocal thing that happens where it starts off as like a really quiet gurgle, and it slowly builds up, and it ends off as like one of those sounds like CJ McCreery did in the last Immortal Disfigurement video that we reacted to and laughed at. But the thing is, it's done on here, and it's just a weird build-up of this weird vocal gurgle, and then it has a solo in that part too, and then it just goes back into singing. I was like, what was that? Like, I don't know what it was, but it was cool. Like, I'm glad it was in there. It just added a cool, like, extra element to the song. Thought it was pretty cool. Track number 9, Hate Me Too. This is one of the cooler songs on the album. A little bit more aggressive. Slightly harsher vocal on this song than the rest of the album, which I thought was cool. And then Confessions of the Fallen, the last song, super creepy vibe on this one. I shouldn't say super creepy, because it's not like Karak Angren, but it's like, it's creepier than the rest of this thing. But it's got this, I don't know what to call it, the melody in the background maybe? I don't know, the groove, I don't know. It reminded me of Sinister Tech by Tech Nine, which is like like an old school Tech Nine song, which is like a really like, maybe it's the bass line, but just like menacing sounding, but subtle in the background at the same time.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool. The chorus kind of ruined the song a little bit, but after I listened to it a couple times, I was like, I can get over that. It's not too bad. It's not as bad as I thought in the first listen. So overall, Confessions of the Fallen impressed me more than I thought it would. I didn't think I would listen to a Stained album and want to hear it again, but I actually listened to it 2 or 3 times in a row because it was growing on me each time. So I thought it was a pretty good album from Stained. I'm actually surprised. And I'm also happy that I liked it as much as I did.
Alright, well, moving on. The last album for us to talk about today is Godlike by Thy Art Is Murder. Now, this album is in a pretty similar situation for us that Silosis was, where they dropped 3 singles and all 3 of them were amazing. We reacted to them all, we loved them all, and I will say that all 3 of them are still great, I think out of the three of them, my favorite is probably Blood Throne. That's the one that sounds more like Fear Factory. And all three of them instantly went into my playlist. Like, they're all just kick-ass, awesome songs. And I was thinking at that point, after hearing them, because they're just like, you got opening track, which is Destroy Your Dreams, which is a good song. And then you got the three singles. So, like, as I'm listening to Karis, I'm thinking, I hope the rest of this album delivers.
Yeah.
Because I don't want it to be a situation where it's like it falls off after the showcased songs.
Yep.
But I think it, for the most part, did. I mean, you know, everything Unwanted, it builds up really, really nice, and I like that. And you got all the atmospheric guitar in the background. I think that really, really added to it as well. And I like that, you know, that's in like a track or two, but not all of them. And I like that they used their elements sparsely throughout the album. It's not like it all sounds like one thing. Like the Fear Factory sounding stuff only happens in like two songs. That's Blood Throne and the title track. And even in the title track, it's really mainly in the verses that have like this, you know, tech death kind of, you know, section. So I thought that was pretty cool. I will say Corrosion's probably one of the best non-single tracks. But I thought Bermuda was a pretty cool closer. It's kind of like the build-up and breakdown of a song, but stretched out to be a song, which I think was neat. Like, overall, I enjoyed it.
Pretty cool stuff. So I think for people that might not know, we should probably tell people that the singer of this band, CJ McMahon, was kicked out of the band, and they actually had to re-record all the vocals on this album with a new singer who's yet to be named. So what you're hearing on this album is not CJ, which I think is crazy because it sounds just like CJ. Like, you wouldn't know.
I wouldn't have guessed. Like,
I wouldn't have guessed.
I was listening to this, and then you messaged me saying, like, oh yeah, CJ was kicked out. I'm like, what? That's not him? Like, whoever is singing on this and will be touring with the band. So whenever the tour starts, which is probably soon, we'll find out who it is. But whoever it is, like, they're killed it.
They're nailing it, yeah. And just impressive overall. Who knows how long they had to do it, maybe a month, 2 months. But yeah, anyways, just interesting to note that fact, right? We're not listening to the original singer. But yeah, overall, I thought this album was great. I enjoyed it a lot. The three singles, like TV Fish mentioned, are still bangers. Blood Throne. I really like the gang vocal when they're saying Blood Throne or whatever. I really like it. I think I might have mentioned that in our reaction as well. I love the palm muting riffs, how they kind of like give breaks to the drums to shine, and it kind of goes back and forth in a certain way. I also think I made a comment about that in our reaction as well, but they're really cool elements of the song that I just really like. There's spots for the drums to stand out, right? In Karis, the pinch harmonics, really cool. There's also a really cool whammy harmonic leading into the solo, which is pretty cool.
And the drum intro on that song.
Drum intro, there's just a lot of cool stuff happening. And you mentioned Everything Unwanted again, which is another song that's a highlight for me. The outro for this one specifically I thought was really cool because they just turn it up. They just, like, the song's playing at like a 9 or 10, they crank it to 11 or 12, and the outro is just, I guess, epic, right? The double bass gets turned on and it just balls to the walls. They go for it. So overall, you mentioned Corrosion as well. That's another great song. Like, it's just like banger after banger after banger after banger.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a lot of stuff really going for this album, and I think a lot of the band members are really shining. So I'm really looking forward to listening to more Godlike through the week.
Yeah. And with that said, it's time for us to decide an album to review, and I think it's safe to say that we should check out Godlike throughout the week. And I'd say we're both excited. Like, this album, awesome on the first listen, and I really hope that it stays awesome throughout the week because we're going to be listening to this album over and over and over nonstop, and next week we're going to give this album a final review and give it scores. Anyway, guys, that's all we got for you today. Remember to like this video if you liked it, and tell us in the comments below what do you think of today's released albums. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say, and subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. I'm TV Fish.
And I'm by myself.
Keep the horns up.